The city that never sleeps, they called New York, a moniker, soon to be ironic. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. A familiar peace settled over the bustling streets, another day drawing to a close. But this night, something was different. The digital clocks ticked over to 11:59 p.m. Anticipation hung in the air, the promise of a new day. Then the world held its breath, waiting for the familiar rollover. 11:59. 11:59. Still 11:59. A ripple of confusion spread through the city, a disquiet in the force. At first it was dismissed as a glitch, a technical error, a collective shrug of the shoulders. Yet as minutes turned to hours, the 11:59 p.m. remained frozen on every screen, every device. The world held its breath, then exhaled in a collective gasp of disbelief. Midnight had failed to arrive. News spread like wildfire, leaping across continents. The internet buzzed with speculation and fear. Scientists scratched their heads, their algorithms useless against this unprecedented anomaly. The global clock, the invisible heartbeat of the modern world, had skipped a beat, and the consequences were about to be felt by all. The first sign was the insomnia. It crept in slowly, like a thief in the night stealing away the precious hours of rest. People lay in their beds, eyes wide open, staring into the darkness. The silence of the night was deafening, broken only by the occasional rustle of sheets, the usual rhythm of day and night broken. Time seemed to stretch and contract, playing tricks on the mind. Sleep, a basic human need, became elusive. Frustration grew as the hours ticked by, each minute feeling like an eternity. The whispers started, hushed conversations in the dead of night. People began to share their fears and anxieties, their voices barely audible. Was this the end? What had we done? Questions with no answers filled the air, adding to the growing sense of unease. Days blurred into a long, unending night. The concept of time lost all meaning, as if the world itself had forgotten how to turn. The sun, a constant presence in the sky, seemed to mock the human need for darkness. Its relentless glare was a cruel reminder of the sleep that eluded us. The circadian rhythms, the internal clocks that governed our sleep-wake cycles, were thrown into disarray. Our bodies no longer knew when to rest or when to wake. Fatigue set in, a creeping exhaustion that gnawed at the edges of our minds. It was a relentless, unyielding force, draining our energy and willpower. The sun, once a source of life and warmth, became an oppressive presence. Its relentless glare beat down on a world already teetering on the brink. Crops withered in the fields, starved of the essential respite of night. Animals, their natural rhythms disrupted, began to exhibit strange behaviors. The line between day and night, once a clear demarcation, dissolved into an unending twilight zone. The world, bathed in the perpetual glare of the sun, took on a surreal, almost nightmarish quality. The familiar comfort of darkness, the time for rest and rejuvenation, was gone. Section 5. A world adrift. Society, built on the foundation of a predictable 24-hour cycle, began to crumble. The once reliable rhythm of day and night, which governed every aspect of life, was now a distant memory. People found themselves disoriented, unable to distinguish between morning and evening, as the concept of time itself seemed to fracture. The stock market, a creature of routine and schedule, went haywire. Investors, who once thrived on the predictability of opening and closing bells, were thrown into chaos. The erratic fluctuations in stock prices mirrored the uncertainty that gripped the world, causing financial institutions to falter. Transportation systems ground to a halt, their intricate schedules rendered useless. Trains, buses, and even autonomous vehicles, all designed to operate on precise timetables, were left stranded. Commuters, once confident in their daily routines, now faced a landscape of confusion and delay. Hospitals, already stretched thin, struggled to cope with the influx of patients suffering from insomnia and anxiety. The medical community, unprepared for the psychological toll of a world without time, found itself overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly, but the sheer volume of cases threatened to break the healthcare system. The delicate balance of civilization held together by the invisible threads of time began to unravel. The societal structures that once provided stability and order were now fraying at the edges. People wandered the streets, their faces etched with worry and confusion as the world they knew slipped away. The world, adrift in an endless day, was a ship without a rudder, tossed about on a sea of uncertainty and fear. Without the guiding light of time, humanity found itself lost, struggling to navigate a reality where the past, present, and future blurred into one. The social fabric, already strained by political and economic turmoil, began to tear at the seams. Protests erupted as people demanded answers, their frustration boiling over into anger. The once glorious cities, symbols of human achievement, now stood as crumbling monuments to a world that had lost its way. Section 6. The fabric unravels. As days turned into weeks with no sign of midnight, desperation set in. The initial curiosity gave way to fear, then anger. Riots erupted in major cities, fueled by dwindling supplies and rising tensions. Governments, struggling to maintain order, resorted to increasingly draconian measures. The veneer of civilization, so thin, so easily shattered, cracked and crumbled under the weight of perpetual daylight. The rules of society, once seen as immutable, were cast aside in the face of primal needs. The animalistic core of humanity, suppressed beneath layers of social conditioning, began to emerge. Section 7. Echoes of Madness. The psychological toll of the unending day was immense. Sleep deprivation, once a tool of torture, became the norm. Hallucinations ran rampant. The line between reality and delusion blurred beyond recognition. The collective sanity of mankind, stretched thin by the relentless sun, began to snap. The laughter of children, once a symphony of joy, took on a hollow, unsettling tone. The comforting routines of daily life, the rituals that gave our lives meaning and structure, were gone. In their place, a gnawing sense of dread, a feeling that the world was teetering on the precipice of madness. Section 8. On the precipice. The world stood on a knife's edge, poised between hope and despair. Some clung to the belief that a solution would be found, that the clock would eventually strike 12 and the world would right itself. Others succumbed to the despair, their spirits broken by the unending day. The human spirit, though resilient, is not unbreakable. The relentless assault on our senses, the deprivation of something as fundamental as night, had pushed mankind to the brink. The question was, could we find a way back from the precipice, or would we succumb to the encroaching darkness? Section 9. A glimmer in the darkness. Amidst the chaos and despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. The city, once vibrant and full of life, now lay in ruins. People wandered the streets, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. The air was thick with tension and the future seemed bleak. Yet, in the heart of this turmoil, a team of dedicated scientists worked tirelessly. They believed they had identified the source of the anomaly that had thrown the world into chaos. Their lab, filled with advanced technology and futuristic screens, was a beacon of hope. They theorized that a rare alignment of celestial bodies had disrupted the Earth's rotation, causing the time distortion. This alignment, a once-in-a-millennium event, had thrown the natural order into disarray. The scientists pored over their data, their faces illuminated by the glow of their screens. Their calculations suggested that the effect would be temporary, that midnight would eventually arrive. But the question remained, when? The scientists debated and discussed, their expressions growing more concerned with each passing moment. They knew that time was of the essence. And would it be in time to save us from ourselves? The countdown had begun, and the world watched with bated breath. The scientists knew that their work could mean the difference between survival and catastrophe. The weight of their responsibility was immense. The world held its breath, waiting, praying for the darkness to return. People gathered in public squares, their eyes fixed on the sky. They watched the screens, hoping for a sign that the nightmare would soon be over. The tension was palpable, and the silence was deafening. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, suspended between the endless day and the promise of a night that might never come. The world stood on the brink, teetering between hope and despair. As the celestial bodies continued their dance, the future of the earth remained uncertain, a glimmer in the darkness.